I'd like to start the meeting off by having a moment of silence for Maxton Williams. Thank you, everyone. We will be moving to the internet safety hearing by the superintendent.
Internet safety presentation. With this every year, this is a state requirement to talk about internet safety here at Iroquois. Every school has to do this actually, and really there'll be one slide in here that there's been no changes since last year, except for this one where there's keyboarding at K through 5 programs. We use 2 different programs for keyboarding, and actually what they have now is built into it information on internet safety, trying to teach kids of how to behave on the internet, what to watch out for, what to be careful of, just key things. So we have email that picks up, we have filters in there. This year, the high school is in here, there was a student filter caught, and then that goes to tech. Tech then takes that, tells the principal, they meet with the students to find out what they're doing. Internet access is an IBOS filtering system, so we have keywords in it. When we see trends, we add new keywords to it of what people might be searching for that's inappropriate, because sometimes with slang, things come up differently. Network access, we have 16-character passwords. I remember going to that. It was a real thrill, trying to remember more and more letters, numbers, symbols. We have to they change them every 3 months. The multi-factor authentication, so every so often my phone has to go off and I have to type in a key just to keep it, making sure we have, this is for faculty and staff, have this, not students. Obviously they can't get on their cell phones anymore during school. Not board members, they don't have that. Because it all has to do with, you don't have access to the personal information that we're trying to protect. Internet safety policy, here's what we have, and the last one is the new digital tools for K-5 typing skills and the digital citizenship lessons. That's it in a quick nutshell. Does anyone have any questions? Whoops, Ed Law 2D, sorry, I forgot about this slide. Ed Law 2D, it has to do with regulations to protect PII, which is personally identifiable information. For instance, I'll use Social Security. If we type in a Social Security number, we actually have a filter that pulls that out and the email can't go on. Just trying to make sure someone by accident is not passing an email that they're not supposed to with certain information in it. Might be a bad example because we really don't get Social Security numbers for students, but we do for staff. And then we make sure everything's compliant, everything is signed off. So questions?
So it was the Remind app that had a...
Yes, that has nothing to do with any internet safety.
No, but for his education law 2D, we had to get rid of Remind because of PII.
Yes, sorry, yes.
And
They didn't want to sign off on the Ed Law 2D.
Okay, so everyone's using Parent Square now, nobody else is using Remind?
Not everyone is using Parent Square. There's like a Class Dojo I think they use too, so there are other ones. I don't know of anyone that's still on Remind. There might be a few stragglers out there that might have done it on their own that we're trying to, that we'll be looking to try to catch up with. It's always tough to get everyone. Sometimes people set up their own stuff we're unaware of.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to the Iroquois Central School District Board of Education meeting. There are 2 recognition of guest periods, one for agenda-related comments and one for other topics. Please refrain from personal-related comments and address those to the appropriate administrator. To speak, fill out the proper form and submit it to the district clerk. Public comment is limited to 15 minutes total, with each speaker allowed up to 3 minutes. This meeting is held in public rather than a public meeting, and while we won't engage in dialogue tonight, we are listening. The meeting is live-streamed and the recording will be posted online. We will now move to the Pledge of Allegiance by 3rd grader Nora and kindergartner Carta from Marilla.
Nice. pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job. Going up there to the flag. Mom, if you want to grab pictures.
Okay, we'll be moving on to the student reports done by the high school this meeting from the Save Promise Club. It'll be the club president, Christopher, the club vice president, Tyler, and the advisory board, Violet.
Good evening. We are very thankful to the Board of Education for the unwavering support of our clubs and activities. Our clubs and activities provide all of our students with a sense of belonging in our school. So we're very grateful for the unwavering support of the board. This club in particular, the Save and Promise Club, provides a sense of belonging for all of our students, and it provides a student-wide, school-wide impact for all of our students. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Judy Slowick, who is going to introduce our students and tell us a little bit more about the impact that the Save Promise Club has for our school. So, Mrs. Slowick.
Thank you. Hi, so I am a speech language pathologist up at the school, and I also advise the Save Promise Club. We're going into our third year, so we're a fairly new club. I'm very thankful that Mr. Schofield asked me to take this club on as part of Sandy Hook Promise and the anonymous tip line reporting. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I'm going to have Christopher, who's our president, talk, Tyler, who's our vice president, talk, and then Violet is going to speak on being on the Youth Advisory Board, which is a position with Sandy Hook Promise and Save Promise clubs. There's over 5,000 clubs, and they select 12 students from across the country and 12 advisors from across the country. Being in our second year, it's an honor and a thrill to be recognized for something like that. I'm going to turn it over to these guys. I am also going to pass out, I have information about the club, the activities we've done. And I tried sending pictures, but I had some glitches, so I will email those later.
Okay. Thank you for having us. Just to start off, the Save Foundation was founded based on the school shooting in North Carolina, which resulted in the death of Alex Orange, and the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation was founded based off of the Sandy Hook school shooting. And since then, the clubs have joined, and then that's where we come in.
Our main focus in schools is educating others and recognizing those who are going through social isolation and knowing the warning signs of those who might be likely to harm others or themselves. And we've been trying to promote the anonymous tip line that was introduced, and that's been getting used a lot. 41 tips came in last year when they were expecting 5, and we've been provided with money from the organization to help educate and have more activities that we can do in our schools. And we've been, in total so far, we've been given $3,250 by them.
Some of our main initiatives that we focus on are inclusion, being welcoming, and ending social isolation. And we do, well, it's one of the Save initiatives, is Start with Hello, which we did the chalk walk, and we also made the front display case in the high school. And we do No One Eats Alone Day, which is just really promoting inclusion. And then we also do the warning, like making sure people know the warning signs, having a trusted adult, and knowing the anonymous tip line, which America's Safe Schools Week National Save Day, Say Something, and National Youth Violence Prevention Week is a part of that category, and we're planning on doing trivia, and we did a Trusted Adults Board last year for kids to write down trusted adults in the building, and we also do the 14 Days of Action, which we're planning on doing theme days, which helps people remember the Sandy Hook shooting and the memorial about that.
One of our main activities that we've been doing this year last year, that hasn't started this year yet, but is our 5th grade mentorship program. We've go down to their classrooms 4 times a year, and we've been targeting kindness, respect, empathy, and acceptance, which are some simpler things for 5th graders that they can help them further on. So it's good that they're doing that when they're younger. We've kind of been doing this through a variation of presentations. We've made kindness books with them. We've done role play skits, which helps them see actual people doing it, not just us telling them to be kind to others. We've used books and peer-voted awards to kind of promote that kindness in the classroom. And we also, all 3 of us were there, and other members of our club attended the National Save Promise Youth Summit last April. We were able to present about our 5th grade mentorship program and what we've done, share that with several other schools. And we also got to go to a workshop and bring back ideas from that to use at our school.
And then one of the last things is fundraising. We do a chicken and pork barbecue dinner sale, which those fundraisers and those funds help us be able to, go to different SAVE functions like the National Youth Advisor or the Summit, and as well as getting funds for us to do SAVE initiatives for our school.
Hello, my name is Violet. I joined this club my past school year as a sophomore, and I deeply fell in love with it, and that led me to applying for the National Youth Advisory Board position, also known as the YAB among the Sandy Hook Promise Committee. As a Youth Advisory Board member, I am carefully selected out of many clubs across the country. 12 students and 11 others and myself were selected. And this past summer, I had the privilege to go to Washington, D.C. and meet up with these 11 peers of mine and bring our ideas and our experiences together and try to make curriculum moving forward for the Sandy Hook Promise clubs across the country. Along with that, while I was in Washington, D.C., I went into the Capitol to talk to New York State's congressmen and propose our Stop Violence Act in schools. As of now, we have stable funding, so that was a win for us. The National Youth Advisory Board is so valuable for Sandy Hook Promise, though, because we all come from so many different places. We have students from West Coast to East Coast, and from the top to the bottom, and we all work so well together because we're in different places in our lives, and it just works so well. I work alongside the school advisory committee with Mrs. Slowick and others. We meet monthly, and we look forward to making a difference in the world as we go out. So thank you. Okay, thank you.
Before we finish, I also just wanted to give a shout out to our SROs that we work very closely with, Chad Barry, Alex Ray, and Aaron Quado from the middle school. They come in, they speak to the club, they keep us posted on things that are going on, any initiatives that they want us to know about, things like telling us how successful the tip line is, and they also did a breakfast for the students last year, which was awesome of them. They're a big part of this as well.
Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much.
I just I just want to thank you, Judy. Like you said, I came to you and asked you if you'd be willing to do this, and you said yes, and your mentorship, to the students, the young adults, and what you've done with it and grown it. Thank you so much. It means so much to reach out, care for each other, but find ways to communicate with them that they find caring too, so they're willing to step in and have a new club take off and do so well, recognized nationally. Just absolutely fabulous. So congratulations to you three and the hard work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now be moving to board discussion, and we're going to start with the primary building goals in reading and math and the results from our primary buildings. As we begin this, I'm just going to take a few seconds to say, first of all, I want to thank the administration and Mary Jo and the building principals for putting this data together and getting it to us ahead of time so we could review it. That's extremely helpful. I want to thank the board, all the board members, for wanting this data. And it was a big part of our, conversations that I've had with the board members that we want this data, we want to see it, we want to understand it. That being said, and I said it a little bit at the last meeting or a meeting or two ago, is that really quick, the easiest way is my wife and I were looking at colleges for my daughter, and we were talking to a program that was very, rigorous in both the athletics and her studies. The coach looked at us and goes, "Is your daughter a student or an athlete first?" And of course, as parents, we said student first. And she goes, "Wrong, she's a human being first." So as we look at data, data drives decisions, and it's important. But the data is used to make sure we improve the students. I don't want to improve data for the sake of improving data numbers. I want to make sure we look at it to improve our students. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLeck, for leading with that, because you'll see through our presentation that although we'll be showing and sharing with you the data, we're also going to walk you through our progression in the area of literacy and what our plans are in the area of math coming up. And that's main focus is improving achievement, but also quality of educational experience for our kiddos. So thank you. So the data that we're going to be reviewing is a 5-year look at our assessment data. We are going to primarily focus on sharing with you the New York State assessment data, but that's once a year. And for us at the primary level, it's just our third graders. So it's just a snapshot of what our kiddos are progressing with. So we really will share with you a lot of our AIMSweb data. You had a chance to look at that ahead of time. And that AIMSweb data is in between the state assessments. How are we progressing? Universal screening to see if we have any kiddos that we might need to pick up and support a little additionally. It also allows us to look at our curricular needs across all areas. So it is a nice second deeper dive into what we have for student progress. All right, so the first 3 slides, and I know you guys had a chance to kind of look this over, the first 3 slides are really talking about our journey in the area of literacy. And this is a summary of the things that we accomplished in the year 22-23 and 23-24. Our primary focus over the course of these 2 years was to build our teachers' understanding and knowledge around the science of reading, to understand what does the research tell us best practices and how can we look at our current practice to find those gaps of what we need to beef up on. So we built the knowledge base for all of our teachers and continued to do so over the course of those 2 years with really quality professional development. I think you'll see through this journey, the 3rd year we adopted our new reading program and started to really dive deep into implementation, but you'll see the strong correlation between this quality staff development and PD for our teachers and where our data shows that we're making progress and continue to need some additional training and support along the way.
I'll start by talking a little bit about our literacy data. So what you'll see in here is our AIMSweb data for K through 3 and then our third grade performance over the past 5 years on our New York State assessments. As you're looking at these graphs, and you've had a chance to review them, a number that you want to keep in mind is the 35th percentile. So in the assessments we do to see how our students are progressing in reading, the 35th percentile is the mark where we know if a student is performing above that level, they're in the average to above average range. They are not in need of intervention or at risk. But students who perform below the 35th percentile in these subtests are the ones that we want to look more closely at to see if we need to go deeper with Tier 1 or Tier 2 or Tier 3 support for them. I'll walk you through kindergarten first, and this is our 5-year data in kindergarten in letter, word, sounds fluency. So this is before kids are readers. We're really looking at in kindergarten whether they can start to make the connections between sounds and symbols. So they're moving from phonemic awareness to phonics. And this is an assessment that is a really good predictor of how students will become fluent readers as they get older. So you can see the green represents the percentage of students that are performing above the 35th percentile. And we've had a good trend going for the past 5 years, but you see an increase in the spring of 2023, which really correlates to when we started providing pretty comprehensive professional development for our teachers, and we looked at incorporating explicit instruction into the classrooms in the areas of phonics and phonemic awareness. So over the 5-year span, you've seen about a 25% growth rate, and over the past 3, it's been about 15% in kindergarten. Sure. That is the percentage of students performing above or below. The denominator is the total students in all of the primary schools. So in all kindergartners in the primary schools are performing right now close to 80% of them are above the 35th percentile. Okay. Yeah. No problem. It's the percentage of students above the percentile. It's fun. The next one we have is first grade here. So in first grade, I'll just introduce 2 more ideas here. You'll see this over the course of the next 3 grades. We look at accuracy and we look at oral reading fluency. So accuracy is the number of words students can read correctly in a minute. And accuracy is really the precursor to becoming a fluent reader. We need them to be able to accurately identify the words before they can string them together into sentences and then sentences into paragraphs. So you can see again, we're trending in the right direction in accuracy. We implemented the systematic phonics instruction in 23-24. In 24-25, we knew that we needed a little bit more of a comprehensive program, which I'll talk more about as we get into the upper grades. And we're moving in the right direction with oral reading fluency as well. Data teams over the past 2 years have shown a big improvement in first grade. So our data teams we meet 3 times a year to look at the data for each grade level. And in first grade, we've seen a considerable decrease in the number of students that need extra support. So we're talking about a 20 to 30% decrease in the number of students that need extra support in first grade over the past 2-3 years. In second grade, you can see our accuracy and oral reading fluency numbers. And again, accuracy is correct words. Oral reading fluency is the rate. So when you're talking about oral reading fluency, we want our kids to be readers so it sounds almost conversational. That's what we're going for. In second grade, you can see we've managed to move students above the 98% in accuracy. When students reach 98% or higher in accuracy, their comprehension takes off. So that's our target. We want our kids to be able to read at least 98% of the words on the page because we know that then they can become fluent readers. So our accuracy continues to improve there. It happens right in 2023 and moves up as we're starting to get more explicit reading instruction in the classroom and more PD for our teachers, and our oral reading fluency follows. And then in third grade, we have a good trend for oral reading fluency. Now third grade, remember, we did not have the explicit phonics program that was K through 2. So third grade, the change you're going to see is more when we adopted the comprehensive reading program in the spring of 24 to spring of 25, which incorporates explicit instruction in word recognition and that side of the reading room. So accuracy is improving from 24 to 25, and we have a positive trend with oral reading fluency in third grade as well. When accuracy goes up, oral reading fluency goes up. The two are very closely related there. And then our third grade ELA assessments. So you can see here, this is the last 5 years, with a lot of things that happened in the last 5 years, including students coming off of COVID. When you see highs and lows in data, it's an indicator that you need to look at your Tier 1 instruction. So that's what we've done over the past couple of years. You can see in 23 and 24, that's when we started training for the 3 through 6 teachers and began to implement our new program from 24 into 25 there. So it's early to tell with the new program. You really do need about 3 years to know the effectiveness of the program, but right now we do see that we're trending in the right direction between 24 and 25. That's an indicator that the program we have is building in not just the fluency skills, but comprehension skills. So a big part of comprehension and a big part of the New York State assessment is looking at students that can comprehend by knowing and understanding, having good background knowledge and stronger vocabulary, which is a focus of the new program. So it's a little bit early to say we're there. It's too early to say we're there. But when you look at the trend, it seems as if we're trending in the right direction based on what the New York State ELA assessments measure. Yep. Our target is 100% proficiency. I mean, that's what we want, right? We want all of our students to be able to read with an accuracy rate above the 98% words. We want them all to be above the 35th percentile when it comes to oral reading fluency. And then as we get into the older grades, we want them to be able to apply vocabulary and background knowledge to make sense of what they're reading. Right. Right, and a target is just that, right? If you have to aim for that target in order to get close to it. So you're not going to hit a bullseye every time if you're in archery, but if you're aiming for the target, you're going to get closer to it, right? So I would say what we know from the research is that 95% of all students should be able to read at grade level with proper explicit instruction by the time they're in third grade. So that's a goal for us. Yep. Amy?
Okay, so what still needs our attention? As Pete shared, our target is 100% fluency, and we are not there yet. We need to continue to gather and analyze the data and use this program more and continue to develop our teachers. One of the things that we are really addressing and working on this year is making sure that the strategies that are taking place within the classroom, like teachers teach students, programs don't. And so we know teaching strategies that are effective and that will engage kids. It will get them thinking and collaborate with one another, which will allow them to think deeper. But the big part is the last one. We have monthly study groups now. And the purpose of that is now that we're in year 2, we lived year 1 of this new reading program, is getting teachers got on board and understood the importance for teaching word decoding and phonics. And change is difficult. I know that the board heard of those growing pains that we had. But now living the program for another year, this program is a comprehensive program that also includes robust background knowledge topics and building consistent vocabulary. And with all 3 primary buildings, having students at each grade level working on the same topics for background knowledge and the same vocabulary, we're ensuring equity in the education that the students get, okay? At the primary level, we are the ones that, if you think of a piece of Velcro and all of these topics and vocabulary words that we're throwing out and exposing the kids to, like something's gonna stick. And one thing that the teachers have noticed now living a year of the program is that the planning of this program is very intentional. So things that kids are learning in kindergarten, it's exposure, but it comes back around in first grade. And the kids are making, now that we've started year 2, the kids are making connections. The first grade kids are telling their first grade teachers, oh, we learned that in kindergarten. The third grade teachers are seeing that the second graders are coming with that background knowledge of certain concepts already. And so the units, they're not the same, but they're connected, so that by the time the students get to high school, they'll have that strong background knowledge and the vocabulary. Why does that matter, right? When you have kids that aren't proficient readers, and they're giving text that has multisyllabic words based on content and vocabulary that they haven't been exposed to, that cognitive load for them, that's where we have inequities built in. Because they're trying to figure out the words, they have no idea what it is that they're reading about even once they figure out the words, and then they're supposed to put it all together. Would you mind? Kim's passing out a passage. My daughter's a sophomore and she's taking environmental science. So I just grabbed the piece that her teacher sent her. And if you just take a second to look at those words. You can keep going. I got it right here. Thank you. Which of those words would have slowed down your reading? Like if you're sitting in a class and you have to do homework or take a test, teacher calls on you to read it out loud. Unless you're up on your marine life or, right? And really, the simplicity of this passage is it's talking about animals that glow so that they can survive in their habitat. This is why it's so important at the primary level that we don't only teach kids how to decode words, but we really build a strong and rich background knowledge and vocabulary for them. And so we've already started with our study groups on talking about the importance of, why are we teaching about ancient civilization, and why are we teaching about the human body, and why are we getting into fables and folk tales and what lessons are learned? Like, this is why, because we have to prepare them for high school, we have to prepare them for college and career. And so really, decoding background knowledge and vocabulary is the power fuel for turning out proficient readers. So that's what we're working on. That's what still needs some attention.
All right, so we're moving into math now, taking a look at our Ames Web math scores. And this is kindergarten. This is a composite score. And a composite score is just made up of those little subtests within the larger overall scope of math skills that we're looking for kids to have. They're timed tests, they're quick probes for about 2 minutes each, and they're measuring basic math skills. And then they combine them together to come up with a composite score for our kiddos. So you're looking, it's very similar to literacy. The green line is looking at, we have greater than 70%, almost 80% of our kiddos that are above the 35th percentile in kindergarten. And then in first grade, we start to move into more number comparisons, and we're looking, can they fluently and quickly identify numbers that are larger or smaller? Those are the foundations for all mathematical skills as they grow and learn. So here we're looking at our kiddos. We have about 70% of our kiddos at the 35th percentile or higher. And second grade, again, we're looking at 80% of our students. This is also a composite score. There is a component of each one of these assessments, first through third, that looks at concepts and applications, and that assessment is not timed, but that's their application of those skills that they've learned. And this is our third grade. Then I think the piece that kind of pulls it all together, when we look at the New York State math assessment, There is a strong reading component that's necessary for children to find success on the New York State Math Assessment. So they're not only looking at their ability to solve problems mathematically, but their understanding and application of that. In order to do it, many of the questions on the New York State Math Assessment are word problems. They are also higher order thinking problems that we need to apply our reading skills. You can see that, again, like Pete had mentioned on the ELA one, we're trending in the right direction from 24 to 25 as we increase our knowledge base and understanding of how to teach children to be avid and proficient readers. Then we watch our math scores to continue to climb. So I think, all right.
So the areas that still need attention with math instruction, we need to make sure that it's really a shallow pool as far as tier 2 and tier 3 interventions out there for math programs. And again, our goal is always to be consistent and provide the same caliber and instruction of what we're doing. So math looks like sometimes it's push-in depending upon the needs of the students. And then once we get to know the students, the RTI teachers will pull out and really work on those foundational skills where there's gaps. Two things are happening right now. One is the program that we use for our math. The publisher is not publishing that anymore, so they have a new version out. So now we're in the throes of having to pick a new math program to use as our resource. Also, State Ed is coming out with numeracy briefs, just like they did with literacy briefs. So I hope I'm not spilling the beans, but our plan is to replicate the process that we did for literacy, and understanding that we have to start with our teachers and have them understand what is it that kids need to know, why do they need to know it, and then how are we going to get them there, and what resources are we going to use to be able to get them there. So it's going to be a long process, just like we have now, but starting with investing in our teachers and teaching them the concepts and applications of teaching math. Because when we understand why we do things and we take a look at, okay, well, why are they having the kids do a timeline in this way? That's too hard, they can't do it. We can't skip over things and we can't just cut things out. We have to really start with our teachers and make sure they understand why we do the things that we do, because again, it lays the foundation for later life for kids to be successful, high school, college, and career. Still me, sorry. Okay, so our goals for 2025-26, Marilla, Elma, and Wales, we all have the same 3 goals. So consistent in providing that equity in educational experience at the primary level. Goal 1 and goal 2 are really closely intertwined, because it really comes down to pedagogy. That's where everything comes together. The heart of great teaching comes with strong pedagogy. And so when we invest in our teachers and teach them how to teach reading, it's really about the how more than the what. Everything comes together. It's how teachers plan lessons, it's how they engage students in thinking, and it's how they meet the needs of the students right at that given moment. And when we invest in the pedagogy, we're ultimately investing in our students. And it will help each student succeed. So again, Pete mentioned making sure that we have high quality tier 1 instruction, both in reading and in math. Right now, we're year 2 of the reading program, and we're continuing to work on making sure that we have robust program and teaching in the decoding, background knowledge, and vocabulary. And then that third goal, which is prevalent in all 3 of our buildings, speaks to what Jim mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, that we teach the whole child here. Like, that's a strength of this district, and making sure that we have those social emotional supports with all of the foundations work that we've done and you've heard about before, so that we can meet kids where they're at, both academically and emotionally as well. So those are the three goals that all three of us are focusing on this year. Questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Any questions?
A couple things as I was reading through, and maybe it's just a suggestion, but on the y-axis, if we fix that from 0 to 100%, it's a little more readable, right? It also pushes the lines up and it makes it look like the I is almost too high and it's 50%. So just from a readability perspective, it would be a suggestion to kind of go through that. One question I do have outside of that comment, I kind of want to know, we've gone through this journey and been around for a little while. Is this are you seeing the results that you're expecting?
Are you saying specifically in the area of reading?
Yeah, specifically in the area of reading, into the reading program, because historically, this is number, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different programs we've launched over the years. Some, predating myself as well. We put a lot of time, energy, effort, and money into these programs, right? We're now at a point where we're 2 years in. I don't want to look down the road and say, oh, we should change.
Right.
I'm thinking we will, but I want to make sure from the subject matter experts,
Can I just,
is this working? Is this
one of the
working?
things, one of the things that Pete mentioned to you is our first. One of the things that Pete mentioned when he was talking is our data teams and our first graders. So just as like a dipstick of this, I've been here for 19 years now, and we've been running data teams for quite a while. And consistently, every year when we have our fall benchmark, we look at our first graders on the Ames Web data, and consistently we've had greater than 50% of the children at our school in need of some intervention. That speaks to the fact that we're not meeting all of our students' needs. We're not, this last year and this year, I've had less than 20% of the kids. So, the things that are exciting about the program are not necessarily measurable in data. That's one concrete piece of information. Since we've been instructing systematically and explicitly in the area of phonics and phonemic awareness, we've seen the results immediately. The exciting thing is when the kids are going home and telling their parents or excited to talk about things that maybe you or I didn't learn till we were a little bit older, and they're very fluent in those conversations, talking about the parts of the eye. I had a kindergarten student lunch the other day said, "Your pupils are really small," which is a vocabulary word that we probably wouldn't have used previously in our program. So the vocabulary, when Mrs. Stanfield talks about the vocabulary, it is robust. It's very content specific in some areas, and it's exciting to watch the children hold on to that, and that's going to carry them forward for years. They're going to have this background knowledge that's going to level that playing field for all of our kiddos, regardless of their backgrounds and what they bring to the table when they come through our doors. And that's the exciting thing, not necessarily measurable in our data yet, but there's that. And the other thing that I can speak to that's just like a narrative kind of is that our second year of implementation, the teachers are reporting so much more comfort and ease in being able to work through the program. So now we've taught it once and we understand that it's this wide and we understand what each unit is asking us to do. So we're finding greater success with implementation the second year because we're much more comfortable with it as adults. And therefore, it's easier for us to make sure we're getting to the essence and the learning intents for each of our units.
I'll just jump in and say, I've been really impressed with what our teachers have done over the past year. We've gotten this year to work with them very closely already in study groups and on our previous staff development day. And they've done a great job of applying all the learning that they've done to now be able to have been through the program from 1 year to sit together with us and to kind of look critically at it and think, okay, I'm reflecting on last year, I'm reflecting on all the research and all the learning I've done, and this is how we can adapt this program to make it even stronger. So we're seeing some really great teacher ownership of the program right now in year 2 also.
And I think the adaptation comes in how we're teaching the material. just because that there's a page in the workbook, it doesn't mean that we have to do it like that. So our conversations during study groups are, how do we get the kids engaged? How do we get them to collaborate? How do we really know that they know it? And so the answer to your question is yes. I think we are 100% on the right track. Number one, teachers are not curriculum writers. So to be able to pull together the topics that are particularly in the knowledge strand, pick vocabulary that is tiered, so it's very rigorous, think of the comprehension questions, and then make sure it happens in all three buildings, that's not our lane. So now the teachers, instead of worrying about what am I going to teach, am I doing them justice, what is my colleague in the same grade next door doing, I can just focus on the art of teaching. And that's really like where it has to come out to. We really have to be teaching teachers about strategies that are a high return on our investment, working smarter, not harder, like get the kids talking. And the hard work for teachers comes on the intentional planning on the backside of it, but then you can see it in the classroom. And second graders, like even younger, they're doing concept maps. They're talking about ancient civilization. They're getting into the Greek gods. As Kim mentioned, the human body. And we have, as educators, we have to have high expectations for our kids. And when I mean high expectations, I mean we have to believe in them that they can do hard things. If anybody wants to come and see it in action, you're welcome to. Just come, just give me a call, let me know. Heather came last year. Like, it's pretty incredible when they take a third grade class, divide it in half, and they start debating whether Julius Caesar is a hero or not. And they don't quit. They keep going with facts. So yes, like my opinion, yes, I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, I have one of these second graders at home, and the conversations that we have are very in-depth and very knowledgeable. And when she first started this year, we're like, where did all this come from? And now we know where it came from. So it's pretty incredible.
The one thing that I wanted to ask, and there's a question in here, the district, the board provides resources, the district provides structure, and, I know the three of you, and you're very passionate, and you provide leadership in the building. I've kind of not been an educator, but I believe that student success is mainly based on three things: the student, the family, and the teacher. That being said, I don't want to use the wrong word, but with this, as we move forward, what scares you, what concerns you, what are the obstacles that you could see coming? Because of those three, we don't really directly control any of those three.
I'll give an answer that scares me, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong, or half right. I think it's funding for staff development for the teachers, because the parents, we really, we get information out, send them out to them, but you heard them talk about the development of the teachers, supporting the teachers. It's hard, rigorous work for the teachers and what they're doing, and supporting that with the training and the resources they need, and the funding for that. Because the teachers over the last few summers, we spent a lot of money on staff development, so when they're working in the study groups, they have the knowledge base, like we want to have the students have the knowledge base for reading. We want them the knowledge base for instruction. I think that's at a board level, that's what scares me the most.
I don't know, like for me, I don't know if scare might be too strong of a word.
The
concern or the intentional.
Or obstacles there, yeah.
Giving the intentional planning to when we have new staff come on board and when new leadership comes on board. Because people have to understand the importance of this work and stay committed to, because through education, right, everything comes and goes, and it comes and goes, and we've been here and we've done that. And we can't lose that this can't go. And that we're just getting to the point where we are going to have, teacher retirements or people just whatever, when we have new people come on, we have to make sure that we support them and we bring them up to speed. So for example, I can just say between Marilla and Wales, we have new teachers, brand new teachers, and currently they're in OG training. So everything that the teachers who are already in place received as far as that PD, we're making sure that those teachers get that, so.
OG
and you
training
know
is
what?
over in Gillingham?
We're such a great team, like the three of us, you know, we're gonna make sure that stays the course, right?
I think these two things tied together
The
are
consistency.
building a knowledge base for a new teacher that has taken 3, 4, 5 years for us to build with veteran staff. So I think one of the things that I would really push for, and I don't know how we advocate for this, is that teacher preparation programs do better by our teachers with doing some of the work that we've done in terms of really honing in on science of reading. And we're starting to turn a corner there, but we're not there yet in the teacher preparation programs that are preparing teachers.
Just so you know, I talked directly to the Commissioner of Education about that last week.
Yeah, and on that end, whenever I go to a regional meeting, we often have deans and chairs from the colleges, and we talk about that, the need for changes in teacher prep.
What are the timeframes for the math program that you alluded to? I know we've had a lot of emphasis on reading, but to improve the math scores, like what kind of timescales are we
We don't really
looking
have
at?
a concrete timeline. Well, next week, on the 22nd, we're attending the literacy numeracy briefs, or the numeracy briefs from State Ed. So, and then I know that they are just calling for teacher focus groups too, so we'll have to get together and pull together our timeline for
Okay.
that.
For that, yeah, and that's at the whim of New York State. So they'll give us a timeline, but in terms of looking at our program, I think we probably within the next year need to be doing the work on taking what we know of the numeracy briefs and aligning it to looking at programs that'll best serve our students. So that's going to play out over the next year and a half or so.
And do we ever look at like surrounding districts, like what? Okay.
Yeah, we
Other
talk to them all the
math
time.
programs are working for other
Yep.
districts?
And that's what we did with reading when we
Okay.
saw other schools that had the program. We went and visited and watched the teachers teach. We'll probably follow a similar pattern with math.
Okay, cool, thank you.
So you talked about teacher preparedness, which I fully agree. Are you preparing a process so that when folks come in, it's, I will call it and use the word standardized, right? Where here's what you need to do, here's how we do it here. Because if we're going through this effort and the pain of last year, lessons learned, we bring it forward and say, okay, here's how we march forward. When you get the onesie, twosie, I will just call it replacements, and you're trying to bring them up, it's much easier than the entire group. So the question really is how are we documenting, memorializing that process so that it's A, repeatable, and B, effective?
I think the Orton-Gillingham training is really important, and that we need to continue that for new teachers because that provides the knowledge base. But I think the system that we've developed with our study groups now brings the new teachers into the discussion right from the beginning. So they're involved, even if they haven't yet taught the unit that we're working on together with other grade level teachers and the building administrators, they're in the conversation there. So there's two parts to it. One is building their knowledge base so that they can become effective reading teachers. And the other one is giving them experience and insight to effectively teach the reading program that we have. So I think we have those in place.
Additionally, we have the Reading League where we did it last year, we'll send them again later in the year to the boot camp, which is a 2-day experience that gives them all of the classes that the teachers took as well.
I guess I just want to say from my perspective, I want to thank you for all the work that you do as a group and as a team. I know a couple years ago it wasn't like that, and trying to make decisions and what are we doing now. As we've gone through the journey, it's very evident that the impact is there. And so we really appreciate that, and it does impact the students. So I want to thank you from, that the work that you're doing is making sense, and we're seeing it in the data, and we're continuously monitoring it, which is always key, and then being able to repeat that over time. So, well done, thank you.
Thank you.
And can I just ask a question about goal 3 for the social and emotional supports? With the refining of the system that we use, mental health is obviously a struggle, I think, for everyone on this planet, including our young ones. And there's been a lot of emphasis on like restorative practices. I know Cheektowaga Sloan just won a huge award for the program that they rolled out to support SEL needs of our students. Is that something that we need like more focus on, or do we have a pretty good handle on the mental health aspect of our students?
I think you can never have enough resources for it. No school district can, right? With the way things are right now, but I do feel like we have a solid Tier 1 program. And what we talk about in this goal is really what happens beyond that. So we've created systems within our buildings for, based on all the foundations work and all the research we've done, like these are the look-fors. If you are an educator, an adult in this building, and you see this, this, and this popping up and what a student is presenting to you, you need to talk to somebody about it. So having a standard practice for how we identify students that might be in need, that could be flying below the radar a little bit, is super important. And then the second part of that is ensuring that we have a structure in place for regular communication between teachers and counselors in the building. Elementary schools are busy places. There's very little time for people to get together during the school day and talk. So we're working on creating structures where there can be regular conversations and check-ins between the counselor and the classroom teachers, where they can talk about kids and talk about these look-fors and just pick each other's brain, like, I'm seeing this from this student. Is there anything we need to worry about or focus on? The other thing we've done is sought more information from parents so that we can hit the ground running with students. So it's not just our new students where we're seeking more background information about their life outside of school, but it's from year to year over the summer if there have been any changes in the household too. Because that's super important, right? When I'm going from 2nd to 3rd grade and I may have lost a grandparent that lived in the home, you know, we can count on parents to tell us that stuff, or we can give them an opportunity to share it. So I think we've done a better job of that too, so that we are rolling into the year with more information about each of our students and if any new needs have emerged too.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say thank you. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
I'm sorry, I actually have a question. So all of this data is from AimsWeb, right?
Yes.
No.
Oh, New York State data
Grade
too.
3 has New York State data, state data.
Okay. So I know I did iReady and AimsWeb. Is that still happening? Like, how many tests and assessments are showing that? Like, same trend, I guess.
So we don't do iReady at the primary buildings anymore. We focus on AimsWeb, and then if a student falls below the 35th percentile, we give them a couple of short assessments so we can really figure out what they need. And that's it. So it's 3 times a year with AimsWeb and then follow-up assessments. The other part of it is if a student is getting extra support, we're monitoring their progress either weekly or bi-weekly so we know if what we're doing is working too.
Now we're going to move to the next thing for board discussion, which is the February meeting and possibly moving the date of that meeting. You know, I think everyone knows that personally I'm generically opposed to moving dates. It's not just because I'm opposed to moving dates. I mean, our meeting's scheduled for February 11th, and technically, you know, not technically, that is my birthday. You know, spending time with you guys is awesome on my birthday. But, and like I'll respond as like, you know, Dave left unfortunately, maybe Erie County School Board Association should change the date of their meeting in Albany. It's not that I really think they can do that. They can't do that because it would be very difficult for them to do it. Moving our meetings is also can be very difficult based on schedules of people and planning and consistency. So if we're going to do it, we have to make sure that we have, you know, a good reason, and you know, Albany, you know, having someone go to Albany is, you know, could be a valid reason, and that it can't be something that's a habit. You can't be moving meetings because there's a bunch of good reasons on why you could want to move a meeting. It could be another meeting. It could be something with Erie County School Board, a committee meeting. It could be, tomorrow's powder puff, et cetera, et cetera. What we really need to do is make sure at our meetings, we have at least 4 board members present. Having all of us is always best. That's not always possible. There are things that are happening. So, Albany or something with your child is a perfectly valid reason to miss a meeting. And the meeting, can still go on. When we move meetings, people have them on their calendars. I don't know what everyone's doing, in February, but it's scheduled in. So it's just a very, serious thing that deserves consideration, to do it. Now, it was asked to do this, so I definitely think it's worth, adding it to the discussion. That's just my generic feeling on ever moving meetings. Because in other words, if we move it and all of a sudden someone else can't be there, then we've accomplished absolutely nothing.
The reason to move it was to go to Albany to advocate for education.
Right, but
which is a
that
very
doesn't
good
stop,
reason to
you could still go to
change.
Albany, we could still have the meeting.
Well, technically, no. Like last year, I didn't go to Albany because we barely had a quorum for our meeting. And then I chose not to go to Albany as a result of that. The previous year, or a year before that, Jane and I drove home through a blizzard at 90 miles an hour to get home for a board meeting. Home.
No, I'm saying
I
you
feel
could
like
miss the
this is
meeting
all-
though,
You
as long
can
as we
miss
had
a
4
meeting,
people.
but to be an effective board, I think in general, we as the 7 and 8 of us need to work on absenteeism at board meetings. We need all 7 of us, as much as we possibly can, at this table, making decisions that are best for the district.
Right,
And if we know in February, which it's October, that ECASB, every single school district has different, they meet once a month, but some districts meet on Mondays, some meet on Tuesdays, some meet on Wednesdays, some meet on Thursdays. ECASB is not probably going to be in a position to move a date that involves a statewide initiative, right? So I think that, in my opinion, that it's October and we're talking about February. Now, as you can see from the people in this room, oh, hi, Lisa, that we don't really have a lot of board people besides the people around this table that are coming to the board meetings, other than the pledge, student report, but for, a presentation if it's an ad hoc one, and I think it's more than reasonable to move the date, assuming most of the people in this room are available on a non-birthday, it happens to align, but on Monday, February 9th, and not know that this won't be a habit. This is to go advocate for our district in Albany. And I know Heather and I, being on the legislative committee, we will be there. And I just think that even more people going would be a good thing. It's quite the experience to go into the state building to advocate and learn about what we need for our education to be better in New York State. So that's just my 2 cents. I don't know, and that's kind of why I brought it up, because I'm passionate about getting to Albany, more than just Heather and I. If all of us wanted to go, great. I know that's not feasible with people's personal schedules because it's for 2 days, but I don't think it's unrealistic to ask for the date to be moved.
No, I don't think it's unrealistic. I just want to stress that
Yeah.
moving meetings is something that's got to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
And if we move a day and I'm just only because I'm looking at Henry, if Henry can't be there the day we move it to, then there's no benefit to moving the meeting.
And I think that's the risk, right?
Yeah.
Your point, Heather, is valid, and I agree. However, if I can't make it because I couldn't make the other one and someone else can't make it, what's the point? And so I think my question really is it an optics thing or is it an attendance thing?
As far as making sure everyone's at as many board meetings as we can be in, or about moving the date?
Moving the date.
I don't understand the question, sorry.
Optics meaning because there is an event that the board could go to.
To advocate for our
To
district.
advocate for it.
Yeah.
Or is it because it's convenient?
It's not convenient. I want people to go to Albany to advocate for our district that are around this table. And if that's Heather and I, or more than Heather and I, I think we shouldn't have a board meeting be conflicting with that priority. But I mean, I don't, I mean,
Have we checked our schedules to see how we look on the 9th?
I have. But I mean, I think we should go around the table to go around just to say if we should consider doing it. I mean, I just threw in my 2 cents just because my mic was on.
I mean, I'm good with moving it. It's not something habitual. It's for a legitimate, good cause and partially why we're here, right? So we have to do one in 16, 18 months. I'm here.
Can we, I agree with you, Todd. Is there a way to know or forecast that? Or are we gonna run into this every year? Because you mentioned like this is
Yeah.
the second time. Like,
Every year, it's the same.
Yeah,
It's
every
the
year.
same.
I
Bobby,
mean,
it's the same.
we make the schedule, so from now on, we could avoid this on every February.
Yeah, I just don't have.
Yeah, we can definitely try, because when we adopt these, it's in the spring, so if they have the date out, that's a date we can look for and see if they have it. We can guess too, knowing it's, would it be in the 11th? I guess it would be the second week usually it's in, and if they don't have it,
When
we
they
can,
purchased it, when they have their calendar.
yeah, so we can
It's the same time
do
every
that.
year, from what I understand.
Same time.
I mean, if we can look back at their history and know it's the second Wednesday.
Yeah, we can avoid the second Wednesday.
It's gonna continue to be the second Wednesday, so we avoid that date
Yeah.
in February.
And what we'd have to, because we try to have a board meeting every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how the schedule goes for the year, looking at the holidays. We'd have to change how we build the schedule. We'd have to probably start in February and try to move out forward and back into it, if that's the driving force to do it, to keep that space out. Or we might just have 2 meetings close together and have no other way around it.
I guess the first question, is there anyone who can't make it on the 9th?
I don't wanna say, because my schedule's
I know.
very fluctuating.
Well, we put out 2 dates. We put out for the 4th and the 12th
Okay, I'm sorry.
to move it to. That's why I'm going to my calendar, because you said the 9th.
I'm saying,
So I was seeing where the 9th was coming
Here's
from.
a dumb question, is everybody gonna be back on the 12th?
Yeah.
Okay.
We come back on the 11th.
Well,
It's just we can't make it here.
Like a-
yeah.
well, let's start.
I'm good for both.
Is there anyone at this table who can't make it on the 12th? Okay, okay, how about, is there anyone who can't make it on the 4th? Okay, then I think the date we would consider is the 4th, because like I said, moving it to the 12th and having someone else not present is no one.
Conflict with, like, breaks or anything.
Doug?
No, the break week is,
The 18th.
just a minute, I gotta switch
The
to a
week of the
different
16th.
calendar. It's the 16th, I thought, yeah.
Just
It's
double
already,
checking.
it's already in my calendar.
Yeah, the 16th, she's absolutely right. I think that's why we picked the dates we did.
Oh, okay.
16th is President's Day.
So the date that we're looking at then is the February 4th. I guess the next step is, whatever you want to call it, a straw poll, wherever you want to take it, of the board members, who would be in favor of moving it to the 4th? Okay, so there are enough people to move it to the 4th. So, Dawn, I guess we're moving it to the 4th. And like I said, it was never the reason wasn't good. I just really feel that it's incredibly important that there's always going to be good reasons to move meetings, that we just don't make it a habit. That's extremely important, because something could come up in March, and that's my only cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And I think given Heather's disposition of attending it, it kind of all makes sense, but I agree, and to me, it's a one-off thing, and making the accommodation does make sense. And if we can mitigate that in the future for next year, I mean, that just, we need to do that, because I don't want to have to run into that again.
Yeah, I wrote that down, so we have a note when we build the board, that's one, there's a calendar. But we take that into consideration. Oops, I almost moved the March meeting.
Don't move the March meeting.
Well, and I think for those that are, for the community that's out there that's watching, I do think it is important, and to Jim's point, maintaining some level of cadence. Everything's published out there in advance. I know there are things that come up and that, can fluctuate, but we do want to respect people's calendars as it is published.
And as a rule, good organizations don't move those. They just don't move meetings. It happens and there's good reason for it, but if it's a one-off, which this is, I can understand it.
It's an adjustment, because I can't imagine it's not going to be the second Wednesday every year, because something that big.
I would think you'd be very consistent with that.
So we'll just make an adjustment, and then we don't have to talk about it again.
Agreed. Okay, that was our board discussion. Now, unless there's anyone has anything else, we will move to the superintendent's report.
I just want to thank John and Dawn for all the work they've done in getting the newsletter out for the capital project. So that's, I think, off to the printer. And that'll be out soon to the entire public. And then I'll turn it over to John just to talk about the capital project some more and answer any of the board's questions, which probably won't be any because you've been well-versed and very engaged in the development process. But in the community, anyone listening, if you do have questions, you can contact John or myself with any questions you have on it.
Thank you. It doesn't hurt to go through this one more time where the information is located for everyone to know. We're about a month away from the vote at this point. When you go to our homepage and scroll down a little bit, you can see a news and announcements. You got a tab to hit there for Capital Improvements Project 2025. Under here is various things, the scope of the project. The newsletter will be posted there. And then we got this little presentation here to show.
And that presentation is what is posted on the website.
Yep. This is the one that's on the website right now. Again, the background of this, I'll go through this really quickly to say that the background is really, the basis of this whole thing is the building condition survey. That condition survey identified, I think, $106 million of work that could be done in the next 5 years. That we, of course, work under constraint. We want this to be a tax-free project. We can't do all $100 million of work because we want it to be a tax-free project. So the number we have to settle on is around 20 million. In this case, the project's going to be $23 million because we know we have a capital reserve, which we put at least $1 million in every year to build that up. So we have that local funds ready to go when we do a project, and that's what we have in this case, and that's why this is a no tax impact project. We selected priorities to really look at the important things in the buildings, things you don't really see, but the heating systems, the roof systems, things that have to be taken care of. And we've heard from the staff in these buildings where the heat's not a problem in the wintertime, and this is kind of responding to all those comments we've heard. At Merle Primary, replacing steam boilers, original to the building in some cases, with new boilers. That's just one sentence, but you're touching almost every room in the building. You're doing new pipes in the hallways, everywhere. Every room has to be touched with this project and kind of update things. Put in pipes, univents in the classrooms. Replacing the pneumatic control system with a direct digital control system, which means we can more efficiently run that. We can, make sure it's programmed to be off when there's holidays, shut it down when there's no people in the building, and kind of more efficiently run the building and hopefully help with our utility bills as well. Wales Primary, similar thing at below. They're going to get the same replacement of their boilers and the new control system. But also at Wales, they're due for a roof replacement. Their roof was put on in 1998. At the time, 10-year warranties were common, so that's what they received. So we're way beyond the warranty period on that one. And we're going to add new drains, slope the thing correctly so there's no pooling on the roof. And this one will have a 30-year warranty. So we won't have to worry about that one for quite a while. High school, also a roof system. This time it'll only be the one-story level. We've done the second-story level within 10 years, I think, maybe ago or so. So again, this roof will have a 30-year warranty. Depending how the bids come in for these large projects that we're doing, the heating systems and a roof, if there's favorable bids and we have some money remaining, we have an alternate built in to address electrical work at the high school, replace systems that are original to that building, the distribution system, the branch panels, receptacles. There's a lot of work to be done there, so hopefully we can get a start on that as well in this project. Again, we want to make these projects so there's no local tax impact, so we utilize our capital reserves. We don't have to raise a local portion through taxing. So when the project is complete, and the proof really is, and people say, well, how do I know that that's really happening? When we look at our debt service payments versus our state aid, for this year, our debt service payments and interest are $2.9 million. Our state aid for building projects is $3.1 million. So we receive more state aid than we have in payments. That's why we don't need to bring in any additional money to pay for that. I don't take credit for that. This goes back, how we've done projects for 15, 20 years now. Through the administration, through the board that was in place during those times, we've been very careful to structure these projects so that we don't have a local tax impact. And also, we don't have a possible problem down the road, like a landmine that some districts have, where the state aid payments don't match up with their debt service payments. So 5 years from now, all of a sudden your state aid ends, but you still have a $500,000 payment on that project. We've been very careful to make sure that doesn't happen in this district. And when we look down the road 10, 15 years from now, it's very similar. State aid is going to be higher than the actual payments that we made on these projects. So that's always the goal for us. So in this case, the project is $23 million. You can see our state aid, we expect around $16 million in state aid. We'll use capital reserves. We'll also allocating some future fund balance to kind of help with that, which shouldn't be very much of an issue. If you look at the $5.6 million we have in the capital reserve right now, if we receive 3.5% in interest on that, that's another $200,000 we'll have saved. So it's very reasonable to say we can put another $1.4 million towards this in the next 2 or 3 years without any issue. So again, no local tax required to make this project happen at $23 million. And a reminder to vote, November 18th, 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the intermediate gymnasium. Any questions on the project?
Just want to remind everyone that funding mechanism is exactly what we used for the last project. So there's no change to the methodology of what we're doing.
Not a question, more of a comment. Recently, community members or neighbors have approached me about this out of concern of taxes. And it's not that anyone likes paying taxes, but it's just that their burden, on the average person continues to increase and their budgets get more and more strained. And people have said, I've always, supported and I've always voted yes. This time I'm thinking of voting no. So you do listen, you do understand, and then you go and explain to them, well, I understand, but what I want the public to know is that this board takes this, very seriously, and I said that this particular project does not have a tax impact, and that's always been very important to us for the reasons you're saying. And they go, well, my taxes always go up. Yes, the instructional and the operations will always go up. I mean, they're always going to go up. But at least when it comes to the project, which we have, I don't want to say direct control, but we really have direct control over, we've always worked to make sure there's no tax impact. And then, not necessarily people are happy, but they feel better. So I just, the public know that we take, that very serious, and everyone at the district to know that, people are concerned about that. It's just that I think in, whatever you want to talk about, inflation or whatever, that, budgets are getting tighter and tighter, and that is something we always have to think about, and we always have to consider. And, then when they get into and they ask, well, what are you doing? And everything John just said, roofs, boilers, and they understand. But we are asking for an awful lot of money from our neighbors overall, by the time they pay their income tax, their school tax, their town tax. And is it all different buckets? Absolutely. But to the person paying it, they don't really look at it that way. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you.
I think that's one of the things for the board, made members to get out there and talk to people and let them know. Because you will be out at different events and people will question you, so making sure you're well versed on this. So when you can talk about it, explain it, and I always tell people, schools run on tax dollars. State tax dollars are your tax dollars, but in this area, one thing to remember is a lot of our state tax dollars, the percentage of what we pay, is more than what's returned to this area. If you don't do this project, those are state tax dollars that will not come back to this area. They will go somewhere else because the state's not reducing it. I'm not saying we're trying to get more money than anyone else, but our wealth ratio causes us to pay a lot of state tax dollars. We should bring those tax dollars back home.
It's our taxpayers, their tax dollars.
Yeah, it's their state tax
At
dollars.
least some benefit in the community.
Yep. So. Any other questions for John, capital project? Recognitions. So the first recognition, everyone has a bag at their table. And really it's Board of Education recognition. And so I want to thank the board personally. I know the whole community would like to thank you. I know the staff would like to thank you for all you do, the time you spend here. You even hear the concern about moving meetings to make sure people are coming here. So we thought this would be great for everyone to have. It's homecoming week, which if you hold up your shirt, I think it ties right into the theme of homecoming.
And it's Powder Puff tomorrow, right?
And it's Powder Puff tomorrow night. So homecoming, a lot of events. Our sports are doing well. So thank you to you, and homecoming week's tomorrow. Other recognitions I have. Kimberly Morrison, I was trying to find a way to sneak it in. Lindsay Larigo, our county legislator, recognized her during National Principals Month. So she was recognized from our district, along with Ryan Harding in the intermediate school. So we had two principals recognized by Erie County for the work they're doing here at Iroquois. So congratulations to both of them. Next thing I have is Athletic Wall of Fame. Brian Hammond, Matthew Keem, James McCready, and Amanda Emmer are all being inducted into it. So congratulations to those four individuals, and there will be a ceremony for them on Friday and then halftime at the football game on Friday. How are our sports doing? Cross country, the boys, ECIC Division III, first place, 4-0 record. Girls finished ECIC Division III, second place, 3-1. Golf, we have Zach, who qualified for sectionals in the spring. I always find it interesting. We play golf in the fall and then have sectionals in the spring. I understand it, though, with the weather. Girls soccer, varsity soccer, division champs, undefeated in league play. Boys soccer finished their season second in ECIC Conference 2 Blue Division, and their sectional pre-quarters are slated for the 21st of this month. Football, week 7 is in first place in Class B2, undefeated against league opponents. Boys volleyball, third place in ECIC Division 4, 3 more league games to play in the regular season. Girls volleyball finished their regular season second in ECIC Division 4. Playoffs begin on the 24th of this month. Field hockey, currently in first place for Division 2, undefeated in league play with 3 more games left to play in the regular season. Girls tennis, Division 3 champs with a 9-1 record. Skylar and Meredith qualified for ECIC champions in singles, and Hazel and Meredith in doubles. Congrats to Skylar, Guyana, and Georgina for earning Division All-Stars voted on by coaches. Girls swimming finished season first place, Division 3, undefeated in league play. Postseason starts on the 17th. That's Friday too, isn't it? I think so, Friday. Diving championships, the 17th is the diving championships, and the 18th is the swimming championships at Maryvale. Cheerleading placed third in their last competition and will host their annual competition in the high school gym on the 21st. So congratulations to everyone with all of that. And that's all I have.
Okay, we will move on to recognition of guests on agenda-related items. Do we have any? Okay. The consensus agenda. The basic purpose of the consent agenda is to act upon routine matters in an expeditious manner. Items placed on the consent agenda are determined by the board president and vice president in cooperation with the superintendent, and those which are considered common to the operation of the district and normally require no special board discussion or debate. Board members have the ability and the responsibility of reviewing the consent agenda ahead of time. A board member may request that any item on the consent agenda be removed and inserted in an appropriate place on the regular agenda. The president will present the initial motion followed by a request for the second. Is there any request to withdraw any item? Okay. Is there a request to add any item? Okay. The district recommends the approval of the consent agenda. Can I have a second? Second by Keith. All in favor? Okay. It shows that 6 are in favor, therefore none opposed. The motion carries. The agenda passes. Okay. Do we have any guests on non-agenda topics? Okay. Is there a need for an executive session? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, first by Henry. Can I have a second? Second by Heather. All in favor? Okay, 6 in favor, none opposed. The motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:26.